Makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah. Wow. It lives and breathes in colour.
It does.
They're flesh and blood now.
But this is just the joy of playing the game.
Yeah.
The expressions. Just the colour's just amazing.
Yeah. Colour comes on and it's like boom. Suddenly it's alive. It's so vibrant.
Changes the game, doesn't it?
It looks historic, like it belongs in a museum when it's black and white. It just shows like it's a collection of young women just having an absolute ball and probably doing something they'd long dreamed of and never had permission to do. So, Deb, as I understand it, this match was like essentially a fundraiser. So it was after the Second World War. It was raising money for food for Britain. I mean, I suppose it was seen as a novelty, but they invited women to play and it was a raging success. So raising money, doing good for the community, and the community totally responds.
Just does capture what footy's about. And it's that sense of bringing people together.
So, Deb, you played more than 300 games of community footy. Is this sort of evocative for you? Does it feel like the experience?
It does in terms of its rawness of the players, the fun and, you know, the teamwork and all that sort of stuff. But I've got to say, I've never played in front of a crowd like that. And that was 72 years ago. What I experienced, it certainly wasn't that much support. You know, I think the greatest thing about this is you can see people supporting them. Clearly, women have always loved the game of football. And this is probably one of the rare moments in time where they were able to actually play the game. On reflection, for me, it comes back to a moment when I was a little girl. I was probably in grade 5 and I was just playing footy by myself in the streets of Pascoe Vale, and every time a car would come around the corner, I'd run into the bushes. Only years ago, I thought, why was I doing that? And it was because I didn't want anyone to see me play footy. I didn't want people to make judgments because I didn't see myself in the community. And I think that really was my underlying motivation for my perseverance in this sport was I didn't want other young women to feel the way I felt playing footy, advocating for football. As you know, Sam, I've got a little daughter now who's just turned 1 on the weekend. And my little girl is going to have a real opportunity, if she wants to play the game, but not have all the baggage that comes with it.
It took me a long time to see my first game of women's footy when I was a young journalist at the age, you know, just trying to get the best stories I could, telling men's footy stories in the AFL. I think you were one who would sometimes phone me and like, come and meet me, come and watch us, it's a great story. And I was just so, I guess, focused on trying to do what the world was telling me was the best thing, which is be the best you can covering men's.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in fact, like you, the world was telling me that women's footy was not important. Eventually, I was asked to speak at a footy academy, and I thought it was an academy of boys. But I turned up to do this talk, and it was the first ever AFL Women's Academy. And I left that day just absolutely convinced that, one, it just made perfect sense, that why hadn't I understood this earlier? It was like that lightning bolt, penny drop moment.
Yeah, sure.
And I rang my editor at The Age and was like, Alex, this just happened, it's an amazing story. And he was like, Sam, it's a really slow news day, you sound really pumped, can you just write that down? And so I wrote the story, probably interviewed you, and it ran in the middle page of The Age Sport the next day. I remember speaking to actually still a journo colleague that I know well, and saying, you know, what I'd seen and how excited I was. And he looked at me and he laughed and he said, Sam, you do not believe this.
Yes.
You do not believe this. And I was
Yes.
like, it will happen.
It's the work of yourself and others that have really set a great platform for AFLW. So it's you having the courage to actually write that story with your colleagues going, what are you doing?
It's you playing it. I mean, you kept playing because without the resistance or the push, this could have been the end. You kept going until the world caught up. So I think the power of this sort of coming to life is just that it shows that this was ready to go almost like 72 years ago, that there was this movement, this groundswell.
It makes me happy.
Same.
It makes me happy to think that 72 years ago, a woman wanted to play the game. And it just affirms there's no surprises for us because we've been on the journey. It almost makes me reflect and go, those women would be proud of, say, us for what we've been able to do and what the game has become.